easily tell who's who. So when you're looking at them, you might see that they have really colourful bands on there to tell us who's who, but we've now actually upgraded, so they have different coloured bands to tell us who's who, but it also has their names on. But another way that we actually mainly tell the difference of who's who is they actually have spots on their tummies, and those spots are completely unique to each penguin. So it's pretty much the same as having a fingerprint for us. They all look slightly different, so it's another easy way to tell who's who with each of our penguins. So there are actually 20 species of penguins around the world. So they all look a little bit different and they all come from different places. So the most famous place that people tend to think of when we think of penguins is actually Antarctica, and that's because the largest penguins that we have here on Earth live in Antarctica. So that is the emperor penguin, and they're sort of normally around 1 metre tall, so sort of about this high, so quite big for a penguin. But then in comparison, over in New Zealand, you have the world's smallest penguin, so that's the little blue penguin, and they are around 40 centimetres tall, so that's probably about that. So very, very small, so they do all vary. So our Humboldts, they come from South America. They're sort of a middle-sized penguin. They're a good size, but they're very cute and small. So they're found around the coast of South America, sort of areas like Chile and Peru. And they're very, very good parents. So you might notice that we have some quite young penguins here at the front. They've not quite got all the markings that the adults had. So we've had a few penguins this year. There's either Pipsqueak or Aurora. Can't quite tell from this distance who that is. So these guys are really good parents, so they look after their chicks together. And they actually make nests of something called guano. So does anybody know what guano is? I guess somebody knows, like, not quite, no. So guano is actually penguin poop. So it might sound a little bit gross, and I will be honest, you probably smelt them on your way down here, but there's a very good reason as to why their nests are made from this. So, you know, you all made that noise, you all made that, oh, that's disgusting noise, and all those disgusting faces. That's good, because if you're a predator going to eat a penguin or their babies, you're not going to want to eat your dinner around that smell, are you? So that's one of the main ways that they sort of deter predators around their babies, and it's a very, very good material. It basically acts like a glue that they use to sort of put sticks together and leaves and other things like that, lots of different materials to make a nice comfy nest for their babies. So it's actually quite clever when you really think about it. And yeah, it's basically their main way of deterring predators. So these guys are very, very good at evading predators. They're very, very agile, which you can see as they're going through the water. And they're actually very, very clever in the way they've adapted, both physically and behaviourally. So something that's really cool that you might see these guys doing every now and then is they actually blow bubbles. What they do is they blow a stream of bubbles at predators, and it really helps to disorientate them and confuse them, and it makes it a lot harder for predators to eat them. They also have something called counter shading. So this is basically the camouflage that they have that is created by the different colours on their body. So imagine that you're a shark swimming in the sea, and you look up and you see a penguin. So you see that white belly is going to blend in very well with the sky above them. And then say you're a seal looking down into the sea and looking at a penguin, you know, that black top, the top of their body that's nice and dark, will blend in very well with the sea. So it's another way that makes it very, very difficult for predators to see them. So they're very, very clever in how they've adapted. But having said that, these guys are still predators themselves. So does anybody know what penguins eat? Yes, there we go, we know this one, fish. That's good. So these guys are carnivores, and the only thing they eat is mainly fish, and different types of fish in the sea. So these guys, they're very, very well adapted to hunting. So I think some of you heard me talking about this earlier with my colleague, but these guys, they have a hooked beak and a very, very powerful beak as well. And they also have a tongue that has barbs on it, and those barbs point backwards. And so does the barbs going down their throat. So they're perfectly adapted to hunt those fish. They'll chase the fish down, they have a very, very powerful snapping bite that will snap up that fish. And then they'll use that tongue and that hook to turn the fish around, so it goes down their throat head first, so it slips down nice and perfectly, it doesn't get stuck, and then those barbs on their tongue and their throat again points downwards to help their fish go straight down into their gullet and into their tummy, and it can be nice and full. So again, they're incredibly well adapted for their diet. So unfortunately, penguins do face many threats, mainly due to us humans. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about this, but also how you can help, because, you know, when I was researching these guys, I didn't actually know very much about this. So unfortunately, the main one that most people tend to know about is overfishing. So unfortunately with these guys, because there are so many of us humans on this earth, we need to eat. So we do go out sailing and we do catch our fish, but unfortunately we do tend to catch a little bit more fish than we need, and that unfortunately does take the food away from these guys. And unfortunately as well, the penguins do tend to get caught up in fishermen's nets as well. And it means that unfortunately they can get injured, and then because they don't have very much fish, they can go hungry, and so can their chicks, which isn't very good at all. But something that's a little bit more recent is actually the threat that climate change has to these guys. So not many people know about this, but because the seas are warming up, the fish are actually starting to move away from the habitats where these penguins live, which is very unusual. They'll move away and they'll either stay away until the seas cool back down. But of course, because of global warming, that's not happening. So the fish are basically swimming away from where these guys live, and then the penguins don't have anything to eat, which isn't very good at all. And then because of this climate change as well, the seas warm up and it makes it more likely to create tropical storms. And then unfortunately tropical storms are starting to destroy these guys' habitats, their nests, and unfortunately their chicks as well, which isn't very good at all. But just by being here, you guys are helping these animals. So by being here, I'm able to educate you guys about the plight of our penguins, and I can tell you how to reduce our impact of climate change. So we can make sure we try and walk a little bit more, we all know that, so we're not using our cars, emitting more fossil fuels and things like that. We can turn off the lights in a room when we're not using them, and we can also reduce, reuse and recycle all of our waste. And when buying fish as well, we can actually make sure that the fish we're eating is a lot more sustainable. So we can either reduce our intake of how much fish we eat, or we can make sure that they're sustainably caught. So if you look on the fish, sort of on the tin can when you buy it, there should be a blue Marine Conservation Society logo, and that basically tells you that the fish that you're eating has been caught sustainably. So it's been caught in an area where they rotate how much they fish there, and they make sure they don't do it too much, so there's still some left for the animals as well. And just by being here, you've actually contributed to something called the Chessington Conservation Fund. So hopefully you will pay for your car parking ticket, and a portion of that goes into this fund. It's basically a little charity pot that we have that we distribute between all of the different charity partners that we have here, that we have several, and we are partnered up with the Sea Life Trust. So we are able to donate some of that money to the Sea Life Trust, and they work very hard to look after lots of different species out in the wild, through conservation efforts, through education, through rescue and rehabilitation, things like that, for species like penguins and other marine species as well. And again, if you've paid for any VIP experiences, a portion of that will go into the pot, or you can make your own direct donation. So that's going to be all from me. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you've all heard at the back. I'm going to be hanging around if you guys have a few questions, but if not, feel free to stay and watch the lovely penguins. I do believe next we have our lion talk over the bottom of the lions at 2. We have tigers at 3:30